and it's June 10th, 2011, and so it's here in the desert near Phoenix, Lower Sonoran region, our life zone. It's about 100 degrees every day right now, so it's going to get hotter by about 10 to 15 degrees. It'll settle around maybe 110 degrees throughout the hot part of the summer, you know, more or less. And it's during this really hot part of the summer that the most food that grows out here is available to eat. So that's fortunate, and it's unfortunate. It's good because if you were living out here the way originally we were created before modern technology, in this hottest part of the year, there is the most abundance. So right here, this is a palo verde tree, and the palo verde beans are ready to eat raw, sort of like peas. You'll take these pods and you'll break open the pods, and you know, it hasn't rained a lot. The spring rains were very light this year, so if it had rained a lot, you'd have a lot fuller pods. But this is a common sight right here, and you'll also get better luck with the pods in, you know, along dry creek beds and washes and along roadsides. So I'm gonna get a bunch of these ready, and this will be lunch. Okay, so here's a pod. This isn't a very big one, but you just split it open. See, and the beans are come right out, and I'm putting them into a cup. So a bigger pod with bigger beans is a little easier to deal with, but on one side of the pod it'll split easier than on the other, and then you can just pull the pod apart like that, and you'll have the beans in there, which you can just knock right out into whatever container you're using. I always like to see a pod that's full like this. That's always fun, because if you break it open once, you have all those beans that are going to pull out when you just pull the two halves of the pod apart. I haven't been picking palo verde beans for very long, but I've got a lot of them already, because the palo verde trees are one of the most common trees. Wow, these are really good. They're one of the most common things that grows out here. I haven't found a better way to eat these other than raw. But so I wanted to say this. You know the story of the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve were told that they could eat anything. They could eat the fruit of any tree or any plant except for that one, which was the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? And that's the reality in general. All you need to know really is what you're not supposed to eat. What's poison? You know, whatever that plant is that's poison is, you know, like that tree of knowledge of good and evil. Because everything has some kind of a fruit or a seed or something that, provided that it's not going to be poisonous to you, or it's not going to harm you, it's going to be edible. And the question is, does it taste good? You just have to know what's not edible. Everything else is. And does it taste good, or do you not like the taste of it? The good news is that the Garden of Eden is all around you. It's not just a specific place. The earth was designed to be essentially the Garden of Eden. So you have a story of this couple that was in a specific location, and they got kicked out of the Garden of Eden, and of course when they got kicked out, they started cultivating. Well, when you're cultivating, by the sweat of your brow, you'll eat bread, right? You have to plant the seeds, and you have to water them, and you have to weed it, and you have to do the harvest. And if you're eating only the foods that grow naturally in your local Garden of Eden, then what you really have to be concerned about is harvesting and preparing the food. So that's the good news, is that the Garden of Eden is all around you. It's not a perfect place, but even the poisons are a medicine or something. They're useful for something. So all around me there's a lot more than just the palo verde beans, but I was eating those today to show you that that's really the thing, that if you were living out here free off the land, you would be eating the green fresh palo verde beans as your main meal right now at this time of the year, early June.
Misunderstandings, such a rough ride, all those crash landings, and I contemplate, but I'm not too late. How many times, how many ways do I have to say I care until you're here? How many ways, how many times do I have to say I care? I'll say it until you